I found the lighting, the use of lighting in this film really effective, especially towards the start of the short film when we're introduced to the dark character of this kind of kidnapper, and the way that they use the lighting kind of highlight him emerging from the darkness was quite, stirring in a sense.
So I thought the film that Lexi and the team made was actually quite good. It made me feel quite uneasy about as to actually what was going to happen, particularly about the male characters. So I thought, as horror genres go, the ability of the film to make you feel a bit unpredictable and a bit wary of the male characters was quite well executed. Yeah, I thought that was good.
Favourite thing about the film was definitely the kind of tense atmosphere that they built up with the kind of music and the way that they used certain shots and stuff, and you felt tense yourself, almost kind of like a slight awkwardness, and it was really, it had me kind of emotionally played with, which was nice.
My favourite part about the film was actually the opening. I thought it was really interesting the way that you had used the pools of light to light the two male characters at the start. The use of the audio was good as well to differentiate the kind of the killer, versus the victim. But the way the light was used to isolate the characters in the frame, I thought was really, really good, and that was my favourite bit.
So yeah, the storyline was actually quite simple in terms of its concept, but the way that they carried it out was actually done quite well, and quite effective. There wasn't really much you could do with something like that, but what they did do was really good.
I thought the offer was really good in terms of making it easy for the audience to understand. Sometimes in horror genre they play a lot around with the idea of the timeline and where things happen in what order, but I think this did a really good job of just keeping it straight and narrow. You knew what was happening in what order. That doesn't necessarily mean it became predictable as such, but it did make it easy to understand.
So the film itself, in terms of a horror, actually did, it ticked the boxes. It had, suspense, use of kind of mood lighting. The music was, well used. So in terms of an actual horror film, they did tick the boxes to the right categories. So yeah, I think as a film that fits within the horror genre, they did tick the boxes.
I thought the film did reflect the horror genre well in parts. I thought that the use of low light was good in parts, especially in the internal scenes. It reminded me a little bit of like the Paranormal Activity type, or the found footage films, almost like a documentary, pseudo documentary style. So I thought that was quite good, and it added a bit of grittiness to the story.
So improvements to the film, I'm thinking that certain parts of it, maybe a couple of little continuity errors here and there, but sometimes that's unavoidable until you filmed it and you look at the edit and you go, oh my god. But I'd definitely say maybe there are certain parts they could have highlighted more. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more development on the kind of backstory, maybe between the female character and the creepy stalker. We got an idea at the start that he had some sort of motive towards this girl, but we didn't really know what that was. So maybe if they played on that kind of backstory, that would have been really nice. So if they went over that kind of history behind the dark and creepy character, it would have been a really nice kind of bonus to it. Things didn't work too well, so maybe the phone scene at the beginning was a little bit cheesy. You know, it's kind of something that's played up a lot in horrors. I mean, Scream is a classic example of using, you know, phone calls to build suspense. I mean, you can't knock something that works, but yeah, maybe not going with too many cliches, but that other than that, I think it was pretty effective.
I think for me, the one thing that I would change is the audio. I think obviously in the horror genre, audio plays in film generally. Audio plays a massive part. It's, you know, as important as the video or the film. So the audio, the quality of the dialogue, the sound, the jarring of the cuts between the audio cuts between shots was quite noticeable at times, and that kind of pulled me out from the film at points. So I think next time, just looking at the sound as important as the video would make for a better production. But overall, it's a solid effort.